fault lines is, of course, a term we know from prior intellectual history, namely from Huntington, but Fouskas and Gokay move substantially beyond the what I call the geoculturalism of Huntington. For them, fault lines are essentially material, but the consequences of the fault lines extend much beyond materiality to a litany of ideational, social, and also environmental disasters, all of which they argue are integral rather than incidental to a world order defined by capitalism, militarism, and also imperialism. I find this to be an ambitious work which is bound to make its mark on future debates within the discipline and perhaps also in policy analytic world. The authors offer not only a sobering account of the fallacies of late capitalism, but unlike other alarmist, declinist forms of literature, they also seek to identify pathways for, if you like, global redemption in the form of rival articulations of political models that can respond to the inequities and the decadence of our times. Their hope, in other words, is for recessions and depressions and imperial adventures to be substituted with a form of thinking that seeks to respond to the global challenges in the form of resource depletion, environmental degradation, and the unsustainability of current patterns of capitalist order. So I'm very privileged to be chairing today's symposium, and the order in which our presenter shall be speaking is Gokay, followed by Fouskas, and then we'll have a respondent whom I'll introduce slightly later. But I'll begin by introducing our very own Professor Bulent Gokay, who is, of course, well known to most of us. He has been here since 1996, which is a time I remember with fondness. My waistline was approximately 10 inches less in that year. He is now, of course, the head of the School of Politics, International Relations and Philosophy. He's a professor in international relations and the founder of the Global Faultlines Forum. He's a co-founder of the Keele Southeast Europe unit and also the Forum for Sport in Global Politics and Society. He's written an impressive amount of works, including The Politics of Caspian Oil, back in 2001, published by Polgrave, Eastern Europe since 1970, The New American Imperialism, which in a sense is an antecedent work to the one we'll be discussing today, Soviet Eastern Policy in Turkey, 1920 to 1991, The Politics of Oil, a Survey, and Unholy Alliance, Muslim and Communist in Post-Transition States. So we are very pleased, of course, to have Bulent among us on a permanent basis, but we'll be even more privileged to listen to him for the next.
We have come to the conclusion that the crisis is not the result of some risky lending practices, or greedy bankers, or even a failure of some regulations, as many claimed. It was not even a failure of the system, as many Marxists did refer around the time. But to us, it was central to the mode of the functioning of the global economic system itself. It was not the result of some mistakes or some deviations, but rather it is a natural consequence of the normal global historical moments within the system. By this, we refer to a major global shift. I mean, to us, the main reason of the main crisis, the financial disturbance, was a major global shift in the distribution of the economic power in the world economy. 2008 financial crisis and the deep economic downturn, which are still affecting most of the Western world, are the consequence of a major shift in the balance of economic and political power from the advanced economies of the global West to the emerging economies of the global East and South. So this was the premise at the root of our argument of global fault lines. To use an analogy to the complex motions of large plates of the Earth's outer shell, lithosphere, this is a discussion of shifting tectonic plates. In the world economy, large, longer-term movements together with some more sudden and unexpected changes or shifts. So at this moment of acute systemic crisis, which to us, the world economic system has entered probably from 2007-8 and still continuing, great shifts are taking place in the balance of economic strength among the global forces. New fault lines can be discerned in the global system, and just like the movements of the tectonic plates being actually originated in the Earth's radioactive solid iron inner core, the vast shifts of the structures of the global economic system are the outcome of the changes that have been taking place beneath the surface of economic life over years, even over decades. So from this discussion of the 2008 crisis emerged the term global fault lines. We believe global fault lines is the appropriate way to approach multidimensional and highly interlinked characteristics of the global affairs of the 21st century. We use the term global fault lines in the sense of a unique approach to global affairs, which uses the geological metaphor of tectonic plates. Inspired by André Günther Frank and especially his post-Marxist works, global fault lines is a holistic approach which aims to sketch out and analyze various fault lines which mark the points at which the tectonic plates collide and crumble and cause these kind of major upheavals in the world economy. In a sense, the global fault lines also provides a convenient framework within which it is possible to understand where agency is more likely to be successful and where not. This is not the first time we are witnessing this kind of global shift in the orientation of the powers. More recently, there was the shift after the Second World War towards the two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, and the dominance of the United States over the Western world. The causes and consequences of such major changes in the global positioning constitute one of the central questions of the political economy. Over the past century, our understanding of the world system has been radically transformed in line with changing circumstances. Many theses that once looked solid have depreciated and fallen by the sideline. Many concepts that once were deemed crucial have now been abandoned. And many slogans that once sounded clear and meaningful have become fuzzy and not clear. Our understanding of the term global fault lines should be located within a larger discussion offered by André Günther Frank, Immanuel Wallerstein, Giovanni Arrighi, Peter Gowan, and Samiramin, among other critical thinkers. Global fault line is also the result of a non-Europe, non-Western-centric way of thinking, which distinguishes this approach from those texts that follow modern liberal, realist, Marxist, and constructivist theory. We share a common ground with the world system analysis in the sense that global fault lines argument also requires a number of similar but not exactly the same set of premises, like there has been one world system and this was a historical social structure, and all economic activity happening in the world happens in this one single global space. And in this world system, all the economic powers are located in a kind of a hierarchical structure, and some at the core, some in the periphery, some in the semi-periphery. So all these points, we share the same common ground with the world system theories. But there are, of course, some differences. And probably one of the main points we concentrate and we emphasize is these positions are not fixed historically, and they change over time. And just like the monopolies of leading industries, monopolies of geopolitical power are also self-liquidating. As other states and other economic powers improve their positions, economic, political, and military positions, they become less willing to accept the positions given to them or imposed upon them by the declining leadership, the erstwhile hegemonic power. Again, we emphasize that all this should not be really surprising. Modern world system has gone through many rounds of hegemonic shifts and several cycles from unicentric to multicentric organizations for centuries. Asia, and especially East Asia, was already dominant for most of the known human history and remained so until very recently. This is less than 2 centuries ago. China and the area that is now India then accounted for about 75% of the global GDP until 2 centuries ago. Even in 1820, China and India together were worth more than 50% of the world trade. Europe's share was relatively significant, and America had been discovered but was still not important beyond the Atlantic. So many world system theorists, however, are exclusively interested in the evolution of the capitalist world economy. Therefore, they have confined themselves to only a small part of the real world economy before 1750 that was centered in Western Europe. So, and finally, probably another point which we claim that which will give us more distinguished, the global fault lines is about the emerging world, the emerging world of the global south and global east, as well as the continuing aspects of the global north and west. So in a way, global fault lines is about a holistic analysis of the world together with all the different parts of the world, east, west, north, and the south. So we believe the contemporary developments and the future prospects demand new and better coverage of the previously neglected parts of the world to offer at least some modest counterbalancing in terms of social, historical, and political analysis. Thank you.
You know, we've been working with Bulent for about 15 years now, Bulent, late 90s, and we had a splendid cooperation on we wrote articles, 2 books, we are working on a 3rd book, and as I'm speaking now today, I've completed this, the first draft of a work on the Greek debt crisis, and in fact from the beginning to the end I found the concept of global fault lines as very, very useful in understanding my own country's financial crisis, because you see, I mean, as it may sound kind of rigid, but it's a very flexible concept, and global fault lines has the advantage compared to other useful concepts like the uneven and combined development used by people like Justin Rosenberg, who works at Sussex, and other people. It has the advantage of not being just focused on economics, but also on security, geopolitics, international relations, geoculture. And thinking of Greece, for example, Greece was founded as a state not because it had any inherent innate industrial development like Prussia United Germany or Piedmont United Italy, but it was an artificial construction imposed from outside by France and England, basically, to create a small kingdom in the Aegean to stop the Russians coming down through the Dardanelles through the Mediterranean. That was about it. Was about geopolitics that Greece was for. And then you had a dependent state, a dependent kingdom. Already during the War of Independence, Greek elites who were basically abroad, not in the kingdom, were borrowing to finance the War of Independence against the Ottoman Turks, mortgaging their land. So the dependency of the Greek state begins from its foundations, its birthmark. It's not just that happened today that you have a troika in Greece imposing memorandum of understanding and so on and so forth. Really I found this concept of global fault lines very, very useful in understanding the Greek crisis. But back to the book, to this book, which is a sequel to our New American Imperialism. In the New American Imperialism, when we're writing that we already felt that the U.S. hegemony is in decline. And why is the U.S. hegemony in decline? We haven't answered it properly in the first book, but we answered it very, I think, comprehensively in this one. What were the pillars of U.S. hegemony after the Second World War? I would say 3, 4. One was the centrality of the dollar in global currency markets that was established with the Bretton Woods in 1944. Another pillar was political security pillar, which was the via NATO, basically. So you have NATO in Europe institutionalizing the dependency of Europe upon the United States, and then with via bilateral treaties with Japan, etc., etc. So US becoming global superpower that way, and also the ideational pillar, or what Peter Gowan calls the ideational peg in his last interview, which was the war on communism. Because the war on communism could rally the states of the Western Europe to support the United States on the basis, for example, that the Soviet invasion of the Western Europe is imminent, which was, of course, not true. I mean, even Kissinger in his book says that that was a fantasy, total fantasy. The Soviet Union would have never invaded Western Europe while simultaneously trying to reconstruct the destroyed Soviet economy at the time. Now, all these pillars, all these substantial pillars of US hegemony, were being eroded. They started being eroded from the mid-60s onwards, when the United States started presenting permanently a balance of payments problem. Yeah? And this balance of payments problem, it was because it was out-competed. Its businesses were out-competed by Japanese and West German capitals. And this led to what Bulent very well drew my attention to the falling rate of profit, which is an argument that Robert Brenner uses as well in his work on the boom and the bubble and the economics of global turbulence. Once you have manufacturing, profit in manufacturing falling, then capitalists diversify their way of making money and profits. And the way they diversified was to move into finance. So our definition of globalization is the definition of financialization, which begins with the breakdown of the Bretton Woods system in 1971, when the gold, the parity, dollar-gold parity disappears, and then the money is a total anarchy. Anybody can, there's no fixed exchange rate system, anybody can buy and sell money everywhere. You could not have had SOAS in 1950, but you have SOAS after 1971, to put it in a simple way. You have all this new kind of financial bonanza, you know, free privatization of the banking system, you know, selling and buying money and shares, stock market exchange boom. I mean, in Greece that happened, was experienced in the second part of the 90s, mostly, because that's when financialization took root in Greece. But in the West it came earlier, definitely from the late 70s onwards. And if globalization, i.e. financialization, kinds of, you can say methodologically, it applies to the external environment of the state, then neoliberalism is a program that applies to the domestic environment of the state and comes with a package, the neoliberal package that we all know still is going on. Thatcher started and Reagan in the United States, you know, privatizations, liberalization of finance, wage cuts, welfare state retrenchment, and so on and so forth. So the problem with all this, of course, this was a response to its own crisis. The United States responded. They responded with globalization and neoliberalism. I mean, did that response, I mean, this is a crucial issue to answer, which Leopanis answers, by the way, in a positive way. He says, did this response solve the crisis of profitability in the United States? Leopanis would say yes. Capitalism recovered. Okay, Leopanis, I thought, yeah, perhaps, you know, I think you're right. I mean, Leopanis is one of the most prominent Marxists, Marxisms. He's a professor at York University in Canada, and his latest book has a full-fledged position that the United States is not in decline because neoliberalism and globalization solve the problems of profitability and stagflation the Western economy presented to the South. And he said it earlier in the article, so you left it yourself. We disagree with that position. And we are saying, we're not the only ones saying that. You know, Robert Brenner said it first, and we just have a, you know, just a slightly different perspective and approach because we use global fault lines. Basically, what we are saying is that the crisis that started, the stagflation that started in the 70s, and the problems of the period when the decline initiated, started in the United States, still going on, hasn't gone away, and because, and the answer to Leopanis and others who argue that the United States has recovered is that the growth registered particularly in the 90s under the Clinton administration was a growth driven by debt. And this is so obvious to us, especially you know, during the current crisis that got sparked in 2007, the subprime mortgage crisis. What do we mean by debt-driven growth? It's something very simple. I mean, I'll give you a simple example to understand. I'm buying a house. I mean, I've bought and sold some 4 or 5 houses here in the UK from myself. So what's happening? So you buy a house, in 2000, right? And you buy £200,000. You sell the same house in 2003, and you sell £300,000. The same house. You didn't spend even one single penny in, you know, in doing up the toilet or something, or the boiler. Nothing. So there is 100,000 pounds. Has anybody produced anything, work, produced any real value? No. But this 100,000 pounds. So the statisticians who are taking this 100,000 pounds and they were putting it in the GDP calculation and saying we have a growth. Where is the growth? The same house. What is paper? Yeah. Financialization is mostly about paper rather than creation of real values. Real value is manufacturing. This has a real value because there's objectified labor in it. There's a Marxist theory of labor. These, all the desks here that we manufacture, so on, are also manufactured. You buy and sell a house and you make money, there's no value there. This is fictitious money, what Marx used to call fictitious capital, particularly in the third volume of Capital. So therefore it was a debt-driven growth. That's why we have the problems we have, and that's why to get back to the concept of the global fault line that Bulent described before, in terms of finance, you can see the global imbalances in the economy today. You have surplus countries, like China, which invest in US Treasury bills, and then they recycle their debt in that way. So the United States can finance instead through the Chinese producers' money. And within the European Union, we have another imbalance, with Germany being the only, not the only, but the most important producer of real values, great exporter, manufacturer, creating asymmetries, imbalances within the Eurozone, the main beneficiary being Germany itself, and the main people who pay the foot to bill are the countries of the periphery, the European periphery. So Germany recycles its financial surpluses. The Greeks are asked now to pay because the Greek debt has been transferred from the private sector to the public sector. So it's a Greek taxpayer who will be paying the debt. I find all this very disturbing and very, of course, annoying. And so what I myself have a little property in Greece, and I pay taxes because there's certificate into the electricity bill, and I have to pay it, and I pay by direct debit. I mean, I'm a British taxpayer, and I pay taxes in Greece because it's just a theft. Small tax. It needs small tax, yes, small tax. So, but they don't offer any service. So what do I get? So anyway, this is the story more or less we are saying in that book, and we haven't yet designed the next book, or we are about to design the next book, but hopefully you'll hear from us soon about our next project. Thank you.
I mean, let me first say that I will repeat more or less what I wrote on the back here as an endorsement of this book, but I really believe that it is a very stimulating contribution to one of the key debates, if not the key debate actually. I mean, in international relations, it is the central debate, it's the key debate. And generally, say in many fields of social sciences, this is a debate that you will find in economics, you will find in politics, of course, even in sociology, sociology of international relations at the very least. So here is a very stimulating, very important contribution to this discussion. And this discussion, as I mentioned, and as he mentioned actually, has been with us in a recurrent manner since the late 60s, that is, since the first major crisis in the world system of US hegemony that was translated with of course, the difficulties faced by the United States in Vietnam. That was an aspect of it at the military, political level, to mention the pillars that were mentioned, the dollar crisis, the big dollar crisis, and the indications through the dollar crisis of a changing landscape of global competition, with the rebirth, or reconstruction of German power and the rise of Japanese economic power. So, I mean, all these events that existed already at the time, there was a major shift in international relations, led to a lot of discussions and debates about the decline of the United States, and this debate raged throughout the 70s and the 80s to reach, I mean, this view about the decline of the United States even reached a peak in the late 70s under Jimmy Carter, and was even labeled by, especially by those who were critical of it, with a term sounding like a disease, declinism. It's called, I mean, these theories that proliferated at that time about the decline of the United States and all that were labeled as being declinism by those who were very critical of them. You had even bestsellers in this discussion, major bestseller. This very discussion being one by a historian, Paul Kennedy, the rise and fall of great powers, which became a bestseller not because of the 400 plus pages of pre-modern history, but because of the few pages at the end about the overstretch of the U.S. empire, and that was a bestseller in the later part of the 80s. You can see now the recurrence of the debate, and of course there was always a huge literature of people trying to bring some refutation to this view and reassuring I mean, most of those writers would be people trying to reassure the empire, if you want, the U.S. empire, about the fact that it is still solidly in control, even though there are a few problems, but this doesn't change much to the issue. Of course, there were less among the critics, but you would find among the critics, or the radical critics, of what is called U.S. imperialism, people also, I mean, you also find there people who challenge the view that the United States was in decline, but that would be a way of stressing the fact that the United States is responsible to many of the changes or crises or whatever that happen in the current world. And this is also part of this discussion that you have with people like Gilbert Achcar and Sam Gindin. So this is a very important and very interesting discussion, because it brings into the discussion such a huge lot of factors that you have to factor in, as they say, in order to get somewhere in the discussion. And that's why also I think that people who are specialized in international relations, in the best sense of the discipline and the term, are best equipped to tackle these problems, to enter this discussion. Because if you enter the discussion with just an economist, a narrow economist point of view, you miss a major part of the whole problem. And if you enter it with just a historian perspective, you also, of course, historians can touch everything like IR people, but nevertheless, you may be missing some key point of what's happening. And the same goes to every discipline taken alone. And that's the advantage of international relations, is this ability, because it's a synthetic kind of discipline in itself, this ability to factor in the various factors of power, as they call them in an IR, in this discussion. And that's actually one of the advantages of our two authors here, is that they have this combined perspective, and they discuss this whole issue from that angle. Now, I would make 2 points to provoke the discussion here. One is, to what extent, let me put it as a question, does the geologic metaphor really provides something original and has a real heuristic value that it really helps in explaining whatever. I mean, the first point is that it's not new. It's not new. I mean, the geologic metaphor has been used for ages. And, actually, the chairperson reminded us that global fault lines is a major term in Huntington, in Clash of Civilizations. But before that, you can, I mean, the tectonic plates, and all that, you find it. One of the authors you mentioned here, but you don't mention this book, the financial analyst, Michael Hudson, has a book in the mid-70s which is called The Global Fracture.
Yes.
So I mean, this idea that you have today is of course maybe a useful metaphor, but in itself it doesn't do more than any I would say metaphor. I mean, if you go beyond the metaphor, for instance, and trying to get some kind of epistemological input of geology in this, I don't think we would go very far. So I think it's a metaphor, but it has a limited in itself. Or I mean, I would like you to tell us if you think that has more than that. What do you think it really in itself changes in the key arguments that you put forward, and which again are not new. I mean, the fact that you have the triad, for instance, of the world economy, North America, Europe, and the one centered around Japan has been ideas very, very common in the 80s and the 90s. Now, there is the rise of something else, but here I would point to the danger maybe of the metaphor, because one thing is to call and to describe as a kind of tectonic plate areas which have an epicenter, like North America has an epicenter, Europe, Germany is the epicenter, that's very clear, and of course East Asia around Japan, I mean, has an epicenter. But then, for instance, can we call the BRICS a tectonic plate? Where is the epicenter? What is in common between China and Russia? I mean, actually, whatever political convergences there are between Russia and China, economically they have very little. I mean, China's relation to the United States is incomparably stronger, economically speaking, incomparably stronger than whatever kind of relation they have with Russia. Of course, politically and militarily they converge, but you can see in that some kind of opportunistic alliance in facing the empire, the global empire. So the point is here also to warn against some, I would say, danger in some aspect of the world system theory and the idea of shifts in hegemonic cycles, which, in my view, is something quite dangerous. The thought that you have necessarily cycles and it's assumption cyclic, and then you get into a kind of mechanistic. I'm not saying that this is your point, making the point general. A mechanistic view of the history of hegemony, because as much as I think it is really difficult to maintain the view that the U.S. supremacy, the U.S. hegemony has not been affected, let's say, or is still as it has been since the end of the Second World War. I don't think this is very much sustainable. On the other hand, the idea, for instance, that we are getting into some Eastern-based or East Asian-based or Chinese-based new cycle of hegemony, I think is something, at most, is just speculation. It's speculation about the total unknown, because present China is far from constituting this, and projections about China are very risky, not least because of the unknown ability of the Chinese social and political order to resist all these changes. At some point, there will be a crack. We don't know how deep it will be. Just look at what happened to Russia and how deep it fell with the collapse of the Soviet Union. And the other point is, are we going into any kind of, is there anything making it as a kind of rule that you should have one single hegemonic power at any point in history? Or are we really getting, and this is also a very common idea, into a multipolar world system with the end of the so-called unipolar moment, and the moment term was very well chosen, actually, it's of American origin, of even conservative American origin. Krauthammer is the one who forced this formula, the unipolar moment that started at the end of the Soviet Union, the end of the Cold War, and is ending. This moment is ending, but getting us into a world where U.S. hegemony has been very much weakened, although it's still there. It's not dead, but very much weakened. There's no doubt about that in my view. But on the other hand, there's no central force capable, especially in such a world as the one in which we are, to exert in a single manner global hegemony. So these are some of the questions that I wish you could address. Thank you.
Discuss many of the essential key points, including the ones Gilbert raised, and try to find much more convincing answers. From the very beginning, when we started to discuss whether this term is convenient, useful to us, probably two aspects of the existing explanations to 2007-8 global crisis made us to move in this direction. One is short-termism. One of the most dominant aspects of the almost every single explanation emerged in 2009, 8, 9, 10, even today, is short-termism. People look at today and try to understand today, but without really understanding the real origins, real roots of the change. And the second aspect, which again we found very problematic, is the tunnel vision. By this tunnel vision, I mean Eurocentric, Western-centric approach. So everything from that perspective, as if the last 200 years domination of European and North American economic and political domination has been there since the beginning of the earth, and everything has to happen again in the same context. So by looking at these two aspects, we try to move beyond this short-termism and tunnel vision, and in that sense we try to find something which help us to look at from longer distance, like use a long durée perspective, and a kind of a globalist analysis, which we relied on André Gundar-Frank's latest book, The Orient, on this. So he, in a way, provided us initial steps in this direction. I completely agree with Gilbert. Of course, there is, we are not saying or even implying that China is emerging as a new global hegemonic power. As I think I briefly mentioned when I was summarizing our understanding that in the history there has been a number of other occasions the world system moved from unicentric to multicentric, from multicentric to unicentric organization, and it seems we are again we may be facing with one of those. For instance, Clark Project for New American Century from 1995, and especially from the Bush Jr. administration onwards, what they were trying to do, like to impose, to secure, to sustain the unicentric American hegemonic system. So all those things from wars in former Yugoslavia, from the first Gulf War, the Second War, Afghanistan. So all those major interventions, global interventions, war on terror, and all those increased intelligence and military presence in the Middle East, in Central Asia, around China, they were all the result of this effort, this attempt by forcefully changing the logic of this global shift. So, but it seems with the recent crisis, it's become almost apparent that it wasn't working, or it was working the other way around. So every single time when they enforced something, the shift became even faster. So the American economic power became weaker, the political power lost some more momentum. So all these are maybe early, but indications that maybe we are moving away from the unicentric structural world system to a more multicentric one. And at least at this time, currently, the world situation seems probably more than anything else very fluid. Probably the continuous change is the name of the game currently. So we tried, and we are trying to capture this current situation by going beyond the today's obvious aspects to the recent history, to the post-Second World War period, and try to step one by one and to see the origins, roots of this country.
Which I believe the concept of global fault lines captures. One fault line is the discrepancy. The discrepancy between, on the one hand, the erosion of the United States economic power and the continuous supremacy of the United States in the field of politics and security. This is a fault line. This is an imbalance. In the periods before the Second World War, I believe, without being a kind of a student of global history, I mean, to the best of my knowledge, anytime we had a transition from one hegemonic system to another, at the time when we had experiencing the decline of economic power, at the same time with the decline in military power. So this happened in the case of Britain, for example. Britain and the United States had naval parity in the Atlantic by 1912. So US was rising at the same time its military power was in, and the United Kingdom could not really much. But today this is not the case. So but at the same time, the US economic power is being eroded. So this is a major fault line in my view. The second fault line, which I see, is what I call the lack of an enemy. Okay? So you don't have clearly defined enemies and friends in the global political system. Okay? And we know from Carl Schmitt how difficult it is to have a sustainable polity without clearly defined enemies and friends. Okay. Momentarily, the United States experimented with manufactured the story around 9/11, the war on terror, okay, which was again an ideational scheme, which I think the Obama administration is not using very much anymore, right? So therefore, there is here something: who is the enemy, who is the friend of the United States, or is it something that is happening ad hoc, the definition of friends and enemies, and so on and so forth. So therefore, I discern a serious problem here from the point of view of the United States to lead, to provide hegemony for the rest of the globe today. Cultural products from other parts of the world are also coming to the West. We have Bollywood, Chinese Chinatown. I was saying, telling Gilbert on train, we have Chinatown in Athens now. There was never Chinatown before. I was growing up, eating kebab and